السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah ta'ala, we continue with the book الدروس المهمة لعامة الأمة by Sheikh Ibrahim ibn Baz rahimahullah. And we were talking about the pillars of Al-Iman. The pillars of Al-Iman. And we talked last time about the belief in the angels. And again, I'm repeating that the purpose of this is to not just to repeat what has been mentioned before in the subject, but to take this book as a syllabus to teach, as the title of the book, عامة الأمة, all the Muslims, all the common people among Muslims. This is a mandatory knowledge for them to know. And therefore, when we educate ourselves, educate our children, this is a minimum requirement that needs to be that we need to be upon, so that we build on this what comes afterwards, inshallah ta'ala. So after al-iman bil malaika, or to believe in the angels, when he mentioned the pillars of al-iman, he says arkanul iman wa hiya sitta, an tu'mina billahi wa malaikati wa kutubi, that you believe in Allah and the angels and the books, his books, ورسله, and his messengers, وباليوم الآخر, and to believe in the last day, وتؤمن بالقدر خيره وشره من الله تعالى, and to believe in the qadr of Allah, it's good and it's bad, that it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So briefly, inshallah ta'ala, when we talk about the belief in the books, in specific points, so that we are able to bring all of these points together. Right. So first of all, to believe in the books. What is the books? The books are basically the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that was revealed to the messengers of Allah. So this is the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the messengers of Allah books. So to believe in all of the books that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed. This is a subject of belief here. And that's why whoever disbelief, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, in the Torah, that it was revealed from Allah, or the Injil, or the Suhuf, or so, then he is a disbeliever, because he is denying the Quran. So to believe in all of the books of Allah. And the ayat of the Quran are so many in this. قُولُوا آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْنَا وَمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط وما أوتي موسى وعيسى وما أوتي النبيون من ربهم لا نفرق بين أحد منهم ونحن له مسلمون. That we believe, say to them, we believe in Allah and what has been brought down unto us, and what has been brought down on Ibrahim and Ismail and Ishaq, and so on. يا أيها الذين آمنوا آمنوا بالله ورسوله والكتاب الذي نزل على رسوله والكتاب الذي أنزل من قبل. We who believe in Allah and His Messenger, and the book that was brought down unto the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the book that was revealed before the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam. وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ وَكُتُبِهِ وَرُسُلِهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ ضَلَالًا بَعِيدًا. Whoever disbelieve in Allah and the angels and the books and the messengers and the last day, he had deviated far away deviation, which is disbelief. This ayah is in Surah An-Nisa 136. So, and there are many evidences, but just to be brief. And the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, that's in it, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he's the one that stated the pillars of al-Iman, and one of which is to believe in the books. And there are, again, so many different evidences in this. When it comes to to believe that this is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it's all came down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So it came down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it's kalamullah, that it's the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is when it comes to all of the books of Allah. All of the books of Allah called the people to the truth, to the tawheed of Allah, to all kinds of whatever is needed from one generation to the other. And when we talk about the Quran, this is something else. We're talking here about all of the books of Allah. That these books that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed is not contradicting to one another, does not contradict one another. And if there is any form of contradiction, either it's in the lack of knowledge or what people did to the previous books in alteration and not preserving it in the proper way. Is it mandatory for people to follow the books, what has been revealed to them? Of course. Right? And when we talk about the history of mankind, all of the books that were revealed at the time of Musa alayhi salam, people, they ought to follow the Torah. At the time of Isa alayhi salam, to follow the Torah and the Injil. When the Quran was revealed to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, the Quran abrogates everything that is before it, but still believing in all of the previous books and having also the belief that people at the time of the books that were revealed before, it was mandatory for them to follow. Also part of that belief, and we're just mentioning here points, that if we're writing down these points, it becomes very clear to us what we believe in. What are the books that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we believe in? So to believe in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran. Of course, the Quran, the last revelation from Allah. And we believe in the Torah, the Injil, Az-Zabur. And to believe in general in any books that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the prophets that we don't know the names, we don't know the numbers. Right, so we believe in them in general. Like we said in the belief in the angels, we believe in those who their names are mentioned in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and we believe in general those who are not also mentioned. So the books that are mentioned in the Quran specifically are five things: At-Tawrah, wal-Injil, wal-Zabur, that was revealed to Prophet Dawud alayhi salam, wal-Quran. التوراة والإنجيل والزبور والقرآن, this is 4, and صحف Ibrahim, and صحف Ibrahim, which is mentioned in Surah Al-A'la and others. So these are the 5 books. Of course, it's in Surah Al-A'la, صحف Ibrahim wa Musa. This is the صحف. So the صحف that was revealed, to believe in all of them as they're all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, when it comes to the Quran, this is again a separate subject. There's so much, of course, details, and the details of that is to be observed, of course. But this is in general when it comes to the books of Allah, right? And to also believe that all of these previous books were left to the human beings entrusted to preserve, and the people, they did not preserve it in the way they ought to. And when it comes to the final revelation from Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to preserve it, which is the Quran, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ, that we brought down the dhikr and we will guard it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guard the book of Allah, the Quran, which is basically final revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And of course, when it comes to the shara'a, the sharia changed from one messenger to the other, and the final revelation from Allah to the Prophet ﷺ abrogates all of them. Right? And when we talked about the previous books, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the previous books that they have been entrusted, the people. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَا التَّوْرَاةَ فِيهَا هُدًى وَنُورٌ يَحْكُمُ بِهَا النَّبِيُّونَ الَّذِينَ أَسْلَمُوا لِلَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالرَّبَّانِيُّونَ وَالْأَحْبَارُ بِمَا اسْتُحْفِظُوا مِنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَكَانُوا عَلَيْهِ شُهَدَاءَ. That the Torah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed in it guidance and light for the prophets to give verdict and rulings for those who aslamu, those who submitted with al-Islam to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so on, بِمَا اسْتُحْفِظُوا مِنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ, what they have been استحفظوا, that means they have been entrusted to protect and to guard the book of Allah. And did they alter it? Of course. أفتطمعون أن يؤمنوا لكم وقد كان فريق منهم يسمعون كلام الله ثم يحرفونه من بعد ما عقلوه. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 75. That they, after they hear the kalam of Allah, they alter it afterwards. Right? So يحرفون الكلمة عن مواضعه وإن منهم لفريقا يلوون ألسنتهم بالكتاب لتحسبوه من الكتاب وما هو من الكتاب ويقولون هو من عند الله وما هو من عند الله. As in Surah Al Imran. And the verses in Al Imran, they're very clear in this subject. So this is all clear, and this is a matter of belief, and the details of that, inshallah ta'ala, this can be mentioned in other contexts and things like this. This is all for the previous books. But when it comes to the book of Allah, the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved it. And that's why when we talk about the Quran and the Quran, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that starts with Surah Al-Fatiha and ends with Surah An-Nas. The speech of Allah, the miraculous speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke the Quran, and it's miraculous. The previous books was not necessarily as miraculous linguistically as the Quran. So like when you say like there's a hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says things, it's not miraculous in itself. Right? It's not miraculous in the way that the challenge came when it comes to the way the linguistics of the words is being mentioned. When it comes to the Quran, it's miraculous in its every letter of it. So this is unique to the book of Allah, the Quran. So it's the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that was revealed to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and to believe in all of it, of course, and to believe that it has to be followed. And when it comes to in general, what every Muslim should be upon, that the Quran is kalamullah, that it's not makhluk, it's not creation of Allah, it's one of the attributes of Allah. And the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke the Quran as we heard. Right? So this is all the speech of Allah, and it's for people to follow the Quran and to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the message of the Quran, and to get the explanation of the Quran through the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and that's part of the belief in the messengers of Allah. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in the Quran, that منه آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب وأخر متشابهات. Some verses of the Quran are muhkamat, clear verses, and some verses that can give more than one meanings. So to explain the mutashabihat in the light of the muhkam, in the light of what is clear. The Quran has many names. We seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by reciting it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved it from any change or alteration. It's the final book. To believe that this is the final book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed. There's no more books to be revealed, since there's no more messenger to be sent. And that's why it's guarded, it's protected till the day of judgment. So the ultimate truth and guidance for the human beings is all contained in the Quran, and of course in the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And that's why, for the sake of argument with someone that is a disbeliever, for example, if there was another messenger to be sent, for the sake of argument, what would the messenger bring? Nothing. The Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is comprehensive, covered every aspect in this life. And there's no need for another messenger to be sent. There's no need for another book to be revealed. And also for the sake of argument, imagine this world without the Quran. Just for a second, can you imagine living in a world that does not have the Quran? This is the life of chaos and misery. That people would deserve the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, living their life without guidance whatsoever, deceived by Iblis, by Shaitan. And that's what the affairs of the people before the Quran was revealed to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. That as the hadith in Sahih Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala نظر إلى أهل الأرض. He looked at the people on the face of earth, فمقتهم عربهم وعجمهم. He hated them, all of them, the Arabs and the non-Arabs. إلا بقايا من أهل الكتاب, except few remnants from the people of the book. So, this is the final revelation from Allah. And the fact that the Quran takes over, that means abrogates all of the books before. So that means there's no need for people to go back to the previous books, and it's not permissible to believe in them. Because the previous books, again, human addition and taken away and things like this has been done to them. So you don't know what's right and what's wrong. So what's present today from the Torah and the Injil, it doesn't mean that it's all wrong. It has truth in it, but also it has alteration and with the translations and all these types of things and contradictions. And this is very clear. It does not need much proof. It's very clear to anyone that is truthful to his, with his own self. But when it comes to the book of Allah, the Quran, is, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about it, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَمُهَيْمِنًا عَلَيْهِ. That we brought down to you the book, the Quran, بالحق, by the truth, مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, confirms what's before. So all of what's before, it's in the Quran. And وَمُهَيْمِنًا عَلَيْهِ. Muhayminan, al-muhaymin is entrusted to, with regards to every book before. That's one of the meanings of it. The word muhayminan, that is amin, with the meaning of amin, entrusted with regards to what's mentioned before. Also, it gives the meaning that's hakiman ala ma qablahu min al-kutub, which is, as Ibn Abbas, he said these meanings. That means it rules over the previous books. Hakiman, have authority over the previous books. That means this is what's in the Quran is not to be disputed from the previous books, because the Quran takes over. Hakiman, and witnesses for the previous books. So therefore, this is what the Quran is, and that's why it is not permissible for people to seek guidance from what's present now from the Torah or the Injil. And the Prophet ﷺ clearly stated that when Umar radiallahu anhu, he had some pages or things from the Torah, and the Prophet ﷺ, he made it very clear that if Musa ﷺ was alive, he would follow the Prophet ﷺ. When it comes to the virtue of the Quran and things like this, is a huge subject, and the subject of the Quran, there are so many, the characteristics of the Quran, and the subjects of the Quran, all kinds of things when it comes to the book of Allah. But here we're talking about matters of belief, and that's why to exalt these meanings and to exalt the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our hearts and to know the characteristics of the Quran, this is part of the belief also. It's guidance. It's to receive the mercy of Allah, to hold fast to it, to be protected from fitan, that it intercedes for the people in the Day of Judgment, all kinds of things. And that's why anything, it's a Mubarakah book that is blessed. Therefore, reciting, reading, knowing the rights of the Quran upon us, to read it, to recite it, to learn how to recite it, to memorize it, to reflect upon it, to act upon it, and not wasting our life being away from the Quran, which is another subject that we need to soften our hearts with. That's why it's a daily commitment, each one according to the best of their ability, whether it's in salah, in ibadah, learning, applying. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among the people of the Quran. But we'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala, with the points that are mentioned with al-Iman bil-Kutub, to believe in the Kutub and the books of Allah. And once a person believes, then he acts. Barakallahu feekum. We'll continue, inshallah ta'ala, next time. And we have the Quran session in 5 minutes. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, baraka Muhammad wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.